Okay, so we're living in this age of amazing technology, right? We have all these tools that are supposed to make us super productive. But for so many of us, it just feels like we're spinning our wheels. We're caught in this loop of being constantly busy but not actually effective. Well, that's the productivity paradox. And over the next few minutes, we're going to dig into why it happens and, more importantly, how you can actually break free from it.
Does this sound familiar to you? You know, your day is just this blur of meetings, notifications, emails. You are constantly working. But at the end of the day, you have this nagging feeling that you didn't really move the needle on the projects that truly matter. If that hits home, you are definitely not alone. And it's not a personal failure. It's actually a symptom of how modern work is set up. The scale of this problem is, well, it's staggering. 40%. Just let that sink in. That's how much of your potential productive time can literally vanish every single day. It's being stolen by this invisible thief that's just baked into our daily work habits.
So what is this thief? Think about this number for a second, 1,200. Yep, research from Harvard Business Review found that's roughly how many times the average knowledge worker toggles between different apps and websites every single day. Each little click feels like nothing, right? But when you add them all up, the effect is absolutely devastating. And here's the direct result of all that switching around. In a typical 8-hour workday, we are getting less than 3 hours of actual, focused, productive work done. The rest of our day, it's just consumed by this whirlwind of distractions and the mental energy it takes to keep jumping from one thing to the next. So this brings us right to the heart of the issue, the modern productivity paradox. We've armed ourselves with all these tools that are supposed to help us, but instead they've completely shattered our focus. They've made it harder and harder to do the deep, valuable work that actually makes a difference.
Now, if we want to find a solution, we first have to understand the science behind what's going on. What exactly is happening in our brains when we switch tasks, and why on earth is it so costly? You know, we love to think that we can multitask. It feels like a superpower. But here's the thing. Neuroscience tells us it's a complete myth. Our brains actually can't handle multiple complex things at the same time. What we're really doing is something called context switching, and it's this rapid and frankly exhausting process of slamming our mental gears back and forth. And here's where it gets really fascinating. A major side effect of all that switching is something called attention residue. So when you jump from one task to another, say from answering an email back to working on a big report, a part of your brain is still stuck on the email. This mental residue clogs up your thinking and seriously hurts your performance on whatever you're trying to do now. So what's the actual quantifiable cost of just one single interruption? Well, research from the University of California, Irvine put a number on it. It takes, on average, over 23 minutes to get back into that state of deep focus after you've been distracted. Now, just think about that and multiply it by how many times you get interrupted every day. It's huge. Okay, so how do we fight back against this constant drain on our focus? The answer is to start thinking of your brain like a computer. It has a finite amount of processing power, right? Think of it as mental RAM. And the key is to learn how to free up that RAM for the stuff that really matters. The productivity expert David Allen absolutely nailed it with this quote. He taught that our brains are for having ideas, not for holding them. When we try to use our mind as a storage closet for every single to-do, every reminder, we just create constant mental noise and distraction. The ideal state, the thing we're aiming for, is what some people call a mind like water. Just picture a perfectly still pond. If you toss a pebble in, it creates ripples, right? But then it returns to being calm. Your mind should work the exact same way. It responds when it needs to, but it quickly gets back to a state of clear, focused calm instead of being in a constant state of chaos. The Getting Things Done, or GTD method, gives us a fantastic system for this, and it's built on a really simple principle. Get everything out of your head. You capture every single commitment, you clarify what needs to be done, you organize it all in a trusted system, and then you review it regularly. This frees up your mind to do the most important part, to simply engage with the work that's right in front of you. All right, let's turn these big ideas into a practical daily toolkit. These are some simple but really powerful techniques you can start using today to design your day for deep focus instead of constant distraction. First thing you gotta do is recognize that not all work is created equal. There's deep work. That's the high-value, focused stuff that pushes your skills and creates new things. And then there's shallow work. That's the logistical, repetitive tasks, like answering routine emails.
The whole goal is to consciously minimize the shallow stuff so you can maximize the deep stuff. Now, a really powerful way to prioritize that deep work comes from a quote that's often attributed to Mark Twain. If the first thing you do each morning is to eat a live frog, you can go through the day with the satisfaction of knowing that that is probably the worst thing that is going to happen to you all day long. Your frog is your biggest, most important, most challenging task. You tackle that first, and you build this incredible momentum that just carries you through the rest of the day. And to minimize that really costly context switching we talked about, you have to try task batching. So instead of checking your email randomly all day long, you set aside a specific block of time just for email. You group all your similar tasks together, all your calls, all your reports, and do them in one go. This keeps your brain in the same mode, which makes you way more efficient. And finally, you can pull all of this together with time blocking. Instead of just having a simple to-do list, you actually schedule your entire day on your calendar. You give every single minute a job. You block out big chunks for deep work, you batch your shallow tasks together, and you even schedule your breaks. It totally transforms your day from being reactive to being intentional. But look, this is about so much more than just checking items off a list. Adopting these habits isn't just a productivity hack. It's really a philosophy for living. It's about shifting from a life of just frantic busyness to one of focused purpose. As the author Winifred Gallagher wrote, our life is the sum of what we pay attention to. Think about that. If you fill your days with shallow distractions, your experience of life itself will feel shallow. But when you intentionally focus on things that have depth and meaning, your entire life starts to take on that same quality. Ultimately, this whole commitment to deep work isn't about hiding from the world. It's about engaging with it more fully. It's the path to a life that isn't just more productive, but is profoundly more meaningful and satisfying. A deep life is a good life. It's as simple as that. You know, it's so easy to mistake busyness for accomplishment. It actually feels comfortable. But real impact, the stuff that matters, comes from stepping away from that comfort and using your mind to its full potential. By doing that, you create the space to build things that last. So the only question left for you is, what will you choose to focus on?